my leather boots by the kitchen door. The damp grass is pulling at my bare heels. My skin feels like the rough side of oak. I don't need the laces or the heavy soles. Not anymore, not anymore. The garden has taken moss creep over the patio stones, and I'm not even trying to brush it away. Let it grow, let it stay. I am growing into the green. Leaves where my fingers used to be, just a part of the hedge now. I am losing the weight of the air, falling, falling away. You keep checking your wrist for the hours, but the sun doesn't care for your busy meetings. My blood is thick as sap and moving slow, like a river after a heavy autumn storm. I'm shedding the noise of the traffic outside. The salt in my skin is turning to resin. It feels right, it feels like. Why do we run when we could just? I am growing into the green. Leaves where my fingers used to be, just a part of the hedge now. I am losing the weight of the air, falling, falling away. The heavy velvet curtains catch the breeze, moving like a lung against the window. I step onto the polished oak floorboards, feeling the grain beneath my thin soles. The air here is colder than I remember. It brushes past my neck like a warning. The orchestra is starting in my head, sing through the dust. I am dancing with the space you left, finding my balance in the very center. No longer leaning on your heavy shoulder. This movement belongs to me alone. Belongs to me. I am learning how to lead myself. I used to wait for you to take my hand, watching the clock until the music started. But my dress feels lighter without your touch, and the rhythm is easier to follow now. I don't stumble when the tempo changes, I just let the melody carry my weight. The strings are pulling at my chest, dragging the truth out into the light. I am dancing with the space you left, finding my balance in the very center. No longer leaning on your heavy shoulder. This movement belongs to me alone. Belongs to me. I am learning how to lead myself. Did you think I would stop moving just because you weren't there to guide me? I have a compass inside my own blood, and the floor is mine to claim tonight. It is mine tonight. One foot in front of the other, tracing circles in the dark. I am finally finding my feet. I saw you across the crowded garden, just a look and we knew the score. No need to translate the silence. We've walked this path many times before. It's a rhythm in the way we move, like a record with a perfect groove. Perfect groove. You stay the one I always find, a steady beat inside my mind, always a friend of mine. We sail through the heavy weather, just keep it all together. kitchen table, carved deep while I was at the market. The wood is weeping a dark, thick sap, and the bread has gone grey in the tin. You sit there pulling on your heavy coat, like you already know where the road ends. The village is waiting for a sign, but I am just waiting for you to breathe. They call it a gift, but it looks like death, to save a kingdom that forgot our names. I don't see here a hero in this small house. I just see the man I'm meant to grow with. I'm meant to grow with. The hills have turned a bruise sort of purple. The cattle are lowing at things we can't see. The prophecy says you will walk the high fire, but your skin burns on the stove just like mine. I saw you sharpening the old iron blade, the one my father used for the harvest. It wasn't meant for killing the dark, it was meant for the wheat and the corn. They call it a gift, but it looks like death, to save a kingdom that forgot our names. I don't see a hero in this small house. I just see the man I'm meant to grow with. I'm meant to grow with. The window frame is rattling in the wind. I reckon the latch will break by midnight. I could beg you to stay in the cellar, but the rod is already under the rug. It's under the rug. Go then, before I lose my nerve. They call it a gift, but it looks like death, to save a kingdom that forgot our names. I don't see here a hero in this small house. I just see the man I'm meant to grow with. I'm meant to grow with. Walk fast, don't look back at the gate, just walk. Upon the chalk cliffs of Eastbourne, watching the tide erase the geometry of the sand. The limestone is porous, drinking the great channel. Order is a white line drawn in the silt, but the salt water has no memory of maps. It arrives like a heavy, uninvited congregation. My father called this the grey making. He measured the erosion with a brass caliper, holding the instrument like a holy relic against the chaotic lung of the sea. The balance is not a frozen statue, it is the vibration of the string before snapping. Symmetry exists only in the moment of decay. We are the architecture and the ancient Roman coin in the mud, the face of the emperor worn into a smooth disk. His empire is now the diet of the earthworms. There is a profound sanctity in this filthy ivy. Strangling the cathedral is an act of prayer. It does not hate the stone it breaks, it loves the stone. It only seeks to return the height to the soil. Entropy is the most honest form of gravity. I unlace my boots to feel the cold moss. The damp earth is a map of the universe. I return to the chalk cliffs of Eastbourne. The caliper is lost to the rising foam. There is no line between the wave and the shore. The rooks are held fast against the grey, like charcoal marks on a scrap of paper. The wind gave up halfway through the oaks, leaving the oak leaves stiff as copper. I am walking up the Flint Path. My boots are the only sound in the valley. The frost has turned the moss to iron, and the stream is a ribbon of lead. It has been November for a century. The mercury is trapped in savvy iron handle. To let the seasons breathe again, to wake the water from its sleep. Wake the water. Inside the kitchen the air is thick. A kettle is poised on the cold range. The clock on the mantle is a silent face, counting nothing but the weight of dust. Counting nothing but the weight of dust. She is sitting by the empty hearth with her hands folded in her linen lap. A woman made of bone and ancient lace, who stopped the world to keep her grief. It has been November for a century. The mercury is trapped in savvy iron handle. To let the seasons breathe again, to wake the water from its sleep. Wake the water. They say she lost her son to the salt and traded the sun for a moment of peace. But a moment is a heavy thing to carry when the harvest is waiting for the rain. I lay my palm against the cold stone floor and feel the pulse of the mud below. It has been November for a century. The mercury is trapped in savvy iron handle. To let the seasons breathe again, to wake the water from its sleep. Wake the water. The first leaf falls in the garden. The mercury begins to climb. Let it climb. The rooks are moving in the sky. The water is running now. The kettle boils without a flame. I watch the garden wall descend. A heavy foot moves through the loam. The air tastes like rusted iron. I see a shape above the oaks. It has a very large forehead. It does not look like the posters. No, not like the posters. The local council is confused. The mountain shifted 6 inches. The sheep are standing in all-star. My trouser legs are getting wet. The water flows uphill today. I find it very efficient. I record the data in ink. The ink turns into a beetle. He is back from the long silence. The power surge ruins the lamps. He is waking up in the field. The pressure makes my ears pop now. Pop now, pop, pop now. It is a wonderful problem, a very heavy miracle. The giant palm lifts up the bus. The passengers look out the glass. They are not screaming, they are bored. It is a Tuesday afternoon. The deity smells like damp wool. He steps across the motorway. He leaves a hole inside the clouds. The geometry is changing. Muscle, sinew, granite, grano, low, 3-4, system, update, ancient, active, 5, 6, 7, 8. He is back from the long silence. The power surge ruins the lamps. He is waking up in the field. The pressure makes my ears pop now. Pop now, pop, pop now. It is a wonderful problem. It is a surge of energy. It is a lapse in gravity. The iron sits heavy and cold upon a weary head. My father's father knew this ache. My father's father knew this ache. Beneath the ancient gray sky, by the stone and the heather, by the salt of the sea, I carry the weight of the rain, holding the path for the rest, until the mountains fall away. The river knows my doubt. It washes the fear from my palm. A queen is but a servant here. A queen is but a servant here, where the gorse meets the wind. By the stone and the heather, by the salt of the sea, I carry the weight of the rain, holding the path for the rest, until the mountains fall away. I did not ask for the storm, but I will be the shelter. Stand firm while the stars turn, until the line is drawn in the earth. By the stone and the heather, by the salt of the sea, I carry the weight of the rain, holding the path until the mountains fall away. The path narrows where the round trees bow. It smells of petrichor and cold stone. A figure draped in lace and silver rain. It does not speak with a tongue. It resonates through the ancient roots. Cast the heavy iron from your palm. Drop it into the dark well. Cast it down. Yield to the deep. a pale frost upon the leaf. Breathe until your lungs feel like the sky. Observe the owl with the obsidian eyes has caught the waning moon. Everything is silence and sacred geometry. Do not stir. The veil must be parted with the rowan grass. Step through the sightless side. Bind the ivy vine around the left wrist. Walk the circle through the bed of moss. The skin is merely a shroud of wool. Leave it like the hair beneath the brow. I am the pulse of the standing stone. You are the echo of the mountain air. Follow the echo. The echo is true. Press the thumb against the hull, the throat, release the memory of the forge, release the memory of the spire. Now you are a willow branch, the breath from the peaks will bend you. Listen to the music of the sap through the wood. Your feet are turning into flint of pine, wet earth and wild thyme. Step into the heart of the silver mist. Do not look back at the timber house. Do not look back. Flint, silver, mist. The echo. The soil remembers the ancient rain. My skin is cold as the morning frost. Deep in the roots a giant stir. I feel the pull of the shifting moon. The valley falls away behind me. I am small beneath the open sky. Carry the flame through the sunless pass. The ocean sings inside my very chest. I am the daughter of the silver tide. In the sky, the stars are heavy in my open palms. Everything I knew is dust and ash. The river calls to the salt in my blood. I taste the iron of 1,000 years. The trees lean down to hear my step. The birds are silent as I walk past. I carry a power I did not choose. It burns like ice in the winter dark. Carry the flame through the sunless pass. The ocean sings inside my very chest. I am the daughter of the silver tide. In the sky, the stars are heavy in my open palms. Everything I knew is dust and ash. The spirit awakes. The fire arises. The old world ends where I begin. The path is long and the wind is sharp. I do not look back at the living stone. The silence is a living thing.